Hi, everybody. How are you doing tonight? I'm Jules of Thought, and today is October the 2nd, 2021. I have already been live once today, but I did tell you guys that I was going to come back and I was going to do my video, my topic for domestic violence. October is, in fact, Domestic Violence Month. And so I wanted to, especially in light of all of the attention that's been given to the disappearance and ultimate death of Gabby Petito, Suzanne Morphew. We we have way too many women, young ladies that are going missing or they're getting hurt, and frankly, I think that society we're not responding properly. There has been, on some level, a political move to demonize men, right? And almost like a push to demasculinization of men. It's sort of been this cultural thing that I've noticed where somehow a man that is big and muscular and kind of that kind of like that conventional role of the masculine, that's sort of gotten a new name, and I think it's toxic masculinity is what they call it. um, and along with this push for the demasculinization of men, that somehow taking a very macho guy and and demonizing him simply because he's kind of playing, he's falling in line with his uh, conventional gender role, that along with that has come this push to align men and women as equal. Right now, then, are we equal in terms of intelligence, cognitive ability? Of course not. We all know that we women are far smarter than the men. Okay, no, I'm kidding. It was a joke. It was just a joke. Don't get your panties in a wad. Um, no, we. So so again, I've kind of been on this push for the last few weeks about returning to sanity, returning to logic, thinking rationally about the problems that confront our lives. And I do think there's absolutely no question that in terms of respect and dignity, opportunity, anything that would be related to cognition, intelligence, problem solving, uh, command. Of course, we're equal. Of course, we're on equal footing. Now, female brains that are from biological female, as opposed to brains that are biological male, there are some real differences in the way that they process and conceptualize problems and solutions. However, generally, when we work together, then both the male and female brain can cover all the bases, and we usually do come up with a much better solution. There's no, if you're being logical and you're being rational, then there is nothing to be gained from saying that one gender is better or more entitled or have more dignity than the other gender. But I also think that we are being damn foolish not to accept, there is a difference between a Red Ryder BB gun, or it was it a pellet gun or a BB gun? Red Ryder BB gun and an AK-47. Okay, they're different in terms of power. They're different in terms of the amount of physical damage that can occur to the flesh or to the environment. But ultimately, the brain that is behind that weapon is the one that ultimately will make the greatest decision about how it's used. If you are the one holding the Red Ryder BB gun, you don't want to get into it with somebody with an AK-47. You're going to lose. So that being said, I'm making an analogy to the idea that while in terms of humanity, dignity, intelligence, the ability to problem solve, of course we are equivalent. Of course we are equal. We carry with us certain gifts and certain strengths along with some weaknesses, but together we should all fit together like puzzle pieces in your immediate work environment or home environment, and then it all works, right? It all balances out. But what you can't undo is you can't undermine the genetics but behind testosterone and secondary male sex characteristics and estrogen and secondary sex characteristics of a woman. You can't, it's biology. To try to say that we're exactly the same would be the same thing as saying that a canary palm tree is exactly the same as a an orange tree. Sorry, you're wrong. Nothing's gonna ever make you right. A palm tree giving off coconuts is a completely different animal than an orange giving off, sun-kissed orange. Okay, so we have to be logical. We have to be rational, and it is my belief that this odd messaging that has gradually, slowly, insidiously rolled out for toxic masculinity, that has also gone a long way to drive this message that, if you put yourself in a man's shoes, you hit a man, he can hit you right back. Okay. We do our kids and our culture a disservice not to identify the strengths and the weaknesses that each of us carry with us. We have to acknowledge the strengths and embrace them. And then we also have to be aware of our limitations so that we partner up with someone where hopefully their strength will help support whatever it is that you may be weak in. In traditional gender roles, that's exactly what happened. You would have a male generally paired with a female as lifetime partners. And while, estrogen and the female physique generally creates a condition of nurturance, gentleness, comfort, that kind of thing. Then with men, it was kind of the exact opposite. Not really opposite, but that they were protective and they were hard workers and they were strong and they played with the kids, right? But as soon as one of the kids got hurt, what they do? They came running looking for mom because mom was the one that was going to hug them, tell them everything's going to be okay, blah, blah, blah. So we've really kind of messed with those traditional roles, and there are exceptions to every norm. Otherwise, it wouldn't be called an exception. So have there been situations where women were badly assaulted because of the differential power in the relationship? Yes. Sadly, you wouldn't believe it. In fact, if what everybody's been telling us, that if we make men and women completely equal, then all the abuse is going to go away, that hasn't happened. In fact, abuse is dramatically on the rise. And not only is abuse, intimate partner abuse, not only is it on the rise in the United States of America, but the damage, the physical violence that is coming out of those abusive homes is much, much more violent. We have so many more women and children that are being murdered at the hands of the people that are supposed to love them and protect them. You can't disrupt someone's identity and greater role in the family and the society without there being a backlash. The pendulum swings. So I think we have to be very careful. There is nothing decidedly bad about masculine men. In fact, there's a whole lot of us out here. We like masculine men. We want them to be masculine. I like it when somebody opens the door for me. I enjoy knowing if something goes south, if somebody gives me a hard time or whatever, some masculine man is going to stand up and go, hold on a damn minute, leave her alone. That used to happen all the time. Now, more and more, we see these videos where people will go after a smaller woman, and you see all these men around and nobody does anything. And you're thinking, why aren't these men like standing up to this other guy going, hey, leave her the hell alone? What's wrong with you? We're messing with the gender roles, and there are going to be consequences. All right. So, before I really get into my video tonight, I want to be really careful that this doesn't come off being like a man bashing kind of thing, because it just isn't the case. I think that kindness and treating people with gentleness, especially people that are smaller than you and physically weaker than you, I don't think that is a bad thing. I think it is a part of our physiology. I think that if you're a masculine man, or your husband is a masculine man, and there's a smaller woman, there's somebody, a kid, a female, someone is being mistreated, or they're in a precarious position, then I think that is a mark of honor, that a man would step up and say, hey, get your hands off of her. Are you crazy? Leave her alone. You want to pick on somebody? Pick on me. But stop this crap. This is crazy right here, what you're doing. Okay? I just think it's the right thing. There may be plenty of people in here that disagree with me, and that is absolutely, you're entitled to disagree, 100%. But I'm so disturbed by the growing number of women and children that are going missing, or they're found dead. They're meeting very violent ends from the hands of the people that are supposed to love them. And I think we need to slow things down and begin to explore and say, what exactly is going wrong here? According to all of the people back in the 60s and 70s, if we equalize the genders, then all of this violence and stuff was supposed to go away, and it hasn't. In fact, it's gotten much worse. Okay. All right. So then let me, I think I want to start talking about, first of all, I want to talk about the United Nations. Many people don't like the United Nations. They sort of feel like maybe they butt in or get involved in things that are really not their role. But people in my field were actually quite they were quite happy when the United Nations took a stand on this issue of domestic abuse or intimate partner violence in the United States and the westernized world. There is awareness that one should not beat on the person that you love, okay? But there are some cultures still alive and well today where women and children are in a real dangerous situation, that they are treated like property and second-class citizens, and it is in fact the norm for women to be controlled through violence. Some of those places are, Middle Eastern. Then there's also Middle Eastern countries where women are not that far behind, right? But the United Nations stepping in and taking a stand on this issue of intimate partner violence, that was really a good start for trying to develop some awareness. But by no means are the numbers in the United States, do they put us in a position that we are entitled to lecture anyone on women and children being assaulted. We are falling behind. There are more and more men that are taking out their anger and frustrations on their partners, and on their children. And yes, there are women that abuse men as well. But all the researchers in this area know that is a small number. It does happen, and it shouldn't happen. It's 100% wrong, and it should be addressed, no question. However, I've said before, I'll say again, a woman with her hand, with a fist, is not likely to kill a man with one blow. However, men, and there's plenty in prison today that will tell you, men can in fact kill their partner with one blow placed in the right spot. And so I think the message that we have to give to our male children is, you hit someone, a female, because of her skeleton, because of the way her physique is, you may end up spending the rest of your life in prison for homicide. So you better figure out a different way to hitting someone much smaller than you. And I've actually told the story in my channel of a family friend that when I was growing up, who ended up killing his girlfriend in Odessa, Texas, and is now spending the rest of his life in jail. So the definition that, I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, so let me play this. Now this is this is maybe triggering to those of you that have experienced domestic violence. So if you have, you may not want to watch the clip that I am going to be playing. Okay. All right.
Shut the fuck up.
Now then.
Yeah, you better believe it. I wear the fucking nuts, nigga, in front of public.
Why is it playing? Okay. A little concerned why I didn't hear that. Did you guys hear the talk? Could y'all hear him talking? If you could hear the video playing, put a 1. Somebody said yikes and oh Lord. I'll assume you heard it. Okay. So there are people. Okay. Knowledge, learning, becoming proficient and then professional or expert in any given topic area. Your level of comprehension, understanding, and use of the information goes through multiple levels, okay, as you're learning. The most basic level is knowledge. It's just a concrete awareness of a concept, being able to give a definition to a word, basically, okay? That's the very lowest level of understanding or knowledge, which is just concrete. What is it? That's it. Just seeing a picture of it and going, yep, that's an apple, or being able to define what's an apple, okay? Then it goes through increasing levels of sophistication of understanding until finally you reach the highest level, where you have such a profound level of knowledge and awareness and application of this area that you can deconstruct the knowledge and you can apply it to something completely novel, something completely new, never been done before, and make it work. So it requires a great deal of introspective insight. It requires a lot of deductive reasoning. It requires a lot of deconstruction of the topic or concept, reconstruct in a different form, and which would be considered the highest level, the most sophisticated level of thought, which is analysis and synthesis of a concept or idea. Well, there are those people that like knowledge, just concrete knowledge, right? They want a list. They want a 1, 2, 3 ABC. I want, if the word is in dark print, then I need to memorize it and be able to spell it, and I need to be able to define it, correct? Thank you so much, Gonzo. Welcome. So glad to have you here. Thank you. Appreciate your super chat. Thank you. So some of us like the basic concrete level of knowledge. Give me a list. Tell me the top 5 things that make an apple, or compare and contrast an apple and an orange. And then finally, what are the basic elements of an apple? Can we take that apple apart and turn it into some new kind of fruit when we mix it with the basic elements of an orange, which would be analysis and synthesis. So some people like that concrete based element, and they don't really ever even know that they haven't reached that highest level of comprehension. So when people hear the words domestic abuse or domestic violence or assault, they think they know what it is, right? Well, that's not hard to know. I know what it is. It's when a husband hits a wife, or a wife hits a husband over the head with a frying pan. I can recognize domestic violence or assault when I see it, okay? But there isn't much more that's involved in it. There's a lot more to it. You're describing what is basically just a concrete knowledge level. But people that work in the field, people that have studied domestic abuse and the intricacies of it, what it's designed to do, they look at some of these situations and they see abuse in situations that other people may not. Now, the police in Moab, they didn't see the domestic abuse that you and I saw. The people in my channel that have voiced that they have a history of being in a relationship with domestic assault, they recognize the signs, bam, so quick. Like they totally recognize it. And I think it's been very uncomfortable for some of us to feel maybe the officer, maybe he was a little too comfortable with Gabby and her discomfort, right? I'm going to be very careful what I say because I do not want to be unfair. I don't. But I think that many of us were confused by the fact that he didn't seem to be outraged that Brian would put her out on the side of the road with her shit. Remember? It was, he just didn't seem to respond with the appropriate urgency that most of us were feeling. Okay. You also can't overlook the fact that when he got back over with the guys, I'm talking about, who I call Taliban Tom, when Taliban Tom got back over with the guys, there was a lot of joking about, oh, well, my wife's on medication and she's still crazy. Oh, well, let me tell you about my ex-wife. And Brian got so comfortable in this weird, boys club that developed. He got so comfortable that at one point, Brian has asked a question. I think they were asking if maybe Gabby took medication or something. And he looks at the cop and he goes, no, she's just crazy. Oh, it's so funny. Well, now we know. We see the bruises on her back. We see the bruises on her neck. She's got, there are plenty of videos and photographs where you can see that the telltale bruise on the upper arm. You know where that comes from, right, ladies? Where does that come from? Being handled, right? Grabbing you by your upper arm and moving you wherever they want you, putting you right where they want you. Correct? So a lot of these things that stand out as real signs of abuse, there's some other signs there that people just miss because they lack that higher level of comprehension about what domestic abuse truly is and how the abuser puts it into motion. So I talked earlier about how the United Nations got involved and they actually provided a formal definition of domestic assault or intimate partner violence for kind of a worldwide application to serve as a foundation for beginning to educate institutions and people of their countries, right? And so basically for the United Nations, their definition goes as follows: that domestic abuse can be defined as a pattern of behavior in any relationship, a pattern of behavior that is in any relationship, and that behavior is used to gain or maintain control over an intimate partner. So it doesn't sound like a very complicated definition, limited number of words, but every word was carefully chosen, and I'm about to illustrate in how it works and how to recognize something before there's even a single punch that is thrown. Okay. So domestic violence, definition of domestic abuse or intimate partner violence by the United Nations, is a pattern of behavior that occurs in any relationship that is designed to acquire or maintain control over an intimate partner. So there's a couple of different active components to that definition. So let me start playing this video, make sure everything, I really hope it works. Everything should be working.
Shut the fuck up. Yeah, you better believe it.
Okay, it's not working. And what's going to happen is going to be when I plug in my headphones, it's going to knock my microphone off. I'm going tomorrow and buying a new computer. I've had it with this computer. This is absurd. Okay, I know what this is going to do. Testing. Okay, they can hear me now, and I can hear my computer. Let's see if this works. Okay, if you hear me, put a 1. Okay, thank you, Hoppy Hoppy. Can you hear me now? You could tell she had been hit. She had plenty of marks on her. I guess they can hear me. Okay. All right, y'all. Now we're going to see if we're going to be. Hi, Nancy. How are you? Welcome. Hi, Richard. Good to have you here. Okay, let's try this again now and keep our.
Trying.
I wear the fucking nuts nigga in front of.
Woo. Okay, now I could hear that. Could you hear the F-bomb? If you could hear the F-bomb, hi, Beverly. Welcome. Good to have you. Hey, Patricia. Hey, Vicky Carpenter. That's right, Vicky. Everybody can hear me? Yes. Okay, great. Finally. Okay, thank goodness. Okay, so let me go back and do this one more time. United Nations defines intimate partner violence or domestic abuse as a pattern of behavior in any relationship that is used to gain or maintain control over an intimate partner. So it is using behavior within any relationship at all, not just the relationship with the intimate partner, any relationship. And that pattern of behavior in that relationship is used to either gain control or maintain control over an intimate partner. Now let's watch and see what happens to this poor guy, these two guys that are sitting there trying to mind their own business. And behind them is about to be drama, drama, drama. Okay, here we go.
Shut the fuck up. Yeah, you better believe it. I wear the fucking nuts, nigga, in front of public. You wanna fucking try to look at other women, nigga? No, fuck you. You ain't.
Okay, so mama is upset because daddy is looking at other women, she thinks. Okay, and she's not a little hurt. She's not like, I can't believe you looked at that girl's butt. Okay, no. She is, you would think that this man had stolen $100,000 out of her bank account, had sex with her best friend for the last 10 years, had grabbed a woman on her butt as they were walking down Concourse B. But that isn't what happened. She thinks that maybe he was looking at another woman. Maybe. And look at what she's doing.
Ain't gonna look at other women, and you ain't gonna tell me you're looking at other women.
We have a little child right behind us.
Yeah, I know. I fucking consult the fucking child.
Oh, so this poor flight attendant who's just trying, to calm things over. You see these two men. I want to go back here because this didn't take very long to get to this point. I want you guys to don't listen to the woman. Just look at the behavior, the faces, and the body language of these two men that are sitting here with the camera pointed at them. Look at how they are being affected by this insane, poorly behaved human sitting behind them. Just watch how they are affected.
Shut the fuck up. Yeah, you better believe it. I wear the fucking nuts, nigga, in front of public. You wanna fucking try to look at other women, nigga? No, fuck you. You ain't gonna look at other women, and you ain't gonna tell me you're looking at other women.
We have a little child right behind us.
The guy that is sitting in the middle, he's like, is she crazy? He's angry. He's rubbing his chin. You can tell he's really thinking about turning around and saying, hey, lady, knock it off. The guy over in the blue shirt, at first he's sort of like nervous. He's kind of like wanting to smile, which I get, because when I get nervous, I giggle and laugh. Okay. He looks like maybe he wants to laugh. Then it got real. It's beginning to get real now. The guy with the glasses on, he turns around, looks at the stewardess like, can I help? So the stewardess is very nice. And she said, ma'am, please, there's a small child sitting behind you. And most of us adults, most of us realize with little kids around, we should watch our language. We should probably not be out of control emotionally. And as adults, shouldn't we have the ability to control our emotions for a certain amount of time that we don't vomit all our thoughts and feelings onto a little kid who may be scared, right? Her response to this nice stewardess who's being very polite is, yeah, shut the fuck up. I already consoled the child. I'm sorry, lady. You didn't console anyone. you got that child's attention and got that child focused on you. So already, if you remember, the definition of domestic assault as put out by the United Nations is a pattern of behavior in any relationship that is used to gain control or maintain control over a partner. This woman, now we all recognize the domestic abuse when we see it when somebody's getting punched in the head, correct? We can recognize that. To now, there hasn't been a single slap, hit, push, pinch, nothing. However, you have been watching domestic assault as it has played out. And to make it worse, this abuser on this plane has involved every person on the airplane. You may think, watching this, you may think that all these people on this airplane, that they got bad luck. They ended up getting the wrong plane with the wrong crazy woman, right? No. This woman is aware of the effect that she's having on all these people in the plane. She is inviting them into her nightmare, and it is being used to make her partner uncomfortable. She's essentially weaponized every human being on that plane. And they all are being used as weapons of influence, weapons of embarrassment and shame against her partner. Why? Because he beat up her child? Because he caused her to lose her job? Because he stole $100,000? No. Because he might have looked at another woman. Maybe.
Yeah, I know. I fucking consult the fucking child.
There's a little boy right behind you.
I already know. I'm not going to say nothing if you don't say nothing to try to cause a commotion.
This lady, she's a peach. Just in true form with any abuser, they are always the victim, and it is always someone else's fault, no matter what kind of damage, pain, chaos that they introduce into the environment. It will always be someone else's fault. An abuser will never accept responsibility for what they did. What did we see with Gabby? Gabby jumped out of that van, and the very moment that the officer began speaking to her, she began apologizing. I'm so sorry I clean. I'm so sorry I have a bad vibe. I'm so sorry I was distracting Brian from driving. She assumed responsibility for everything, including 2 witnesses that called in and said, we saw the male physically hitting the female, and the cop was not even remotely interested in accepting the fact that this was a young woman who was being assaulted. He pushed and pushed and pushed until she finally said, well, it was my fault because I hit him first. Bullshit. Young women in America, I don't care if you hit them first. Remember, he can't kill you. I'm sorry, you can't kill him with one blow. He can kill you all day long, many different ways. You don't have any business hitting him. You damn sure should not be in a relationship with someone that you're going to be hitting on. And if you did hit somebody, get out of the relationship until you can at least get some therapy and find out a better way to figure out how to manage one another's emotions. But get out of the relationship. Don't stay in a relationship where you continue to hit. Disaster could be right around the corner. But as an officer, it doesn't matter if the female hits first. You may be dealing with a homicide. I would have even been, let me tell you this, I would have been happy to see both Gabby and Brian fined and arrested for assault. I wouldn't have had a problem in the world with that. None. In fact, maybe that would have been the best outcome because it would have put Gabby in a position that she would have had to have been honest with her family, the people that love her. She would have been forced to say, we're not getting along. We are mistreating one another. We are hitting each other. And parents, you find out from a teen son or daughter, or from your young adult male daughter or son, that there's hitting in the relationship, you've got to step in. You've got to get them separated for a couple of months and get them into counseling and find a better way, because these things escalate unless someone intervenes. Okay? All right. Now then, she's out of control. This lady, this abuser, is completely out of control. And she hasn't hit, she hasn't slapped, there's not been anything like that happen. However, this is domestic assault that is happening in this video already right now. Up to this point, you are watching abuse. This is abuse. And involving all of these people on the plane as weapons of abuse increases the likelihood that violence will occur. Think about that for a minute. The fact that this woman is openly embracing her hate to the point that she wants to use all the people that are in the plane as additional pressure to get or exert power and control over her partner, right? That right there, the fact that she will use people, strangers she doesn't know, small children, she is willing to cross these cultural norms, these kind of unspoken rules of decency. She's willing to step over that line in order to engage in abuse of her partner. That is exactly the definition from the United Nations on what domestic abuse is. Exactly. Okay? Okay, let's see. You honestly believe a woman can kill a man with one? No, Desired. A woman cannot kill a man with one punch. Very highly unlikely. And that has to do with the skeletal structure, right? The skull of a male is much, much thicker than that of a female. And there is, the temple area is smaller on a male. So there is dramatic, the brain of a male is far more protected than the brain of a female. Absolutely. Who said that? Okay. Now then. Live it to the max. Please just play the video and then rant for 1 hour. I don't think you really understand what is happening here. Live it to the max. We're
Back to the troll.
Pardon?
That's a troll.
I'm sure it is. Why don't you live it to the max? Leave my channel, and then you can go watch it and get all excited watching people fight and be mean, and then we don't have to have a conversation with you. That's not what this video is about. This video is not about, hey, let's watch people beat each other up and isn't this fun? The point of doing the video is I'm trying to explain how and what it was that the cops in Moab missed when they made their stop with Gabby and Brian. Okay? Mods, if he keeps being like that, just get rid of him.
You don't have one mod.
I wonder where they're all. Well, no, BZ Mama's here. She's a mod.
That's it.
Oh, Lordy. Okay, well, I can't stop right now. Okay. Now then, let me get back over to my video.
I'm a mod. You want me to block everybody?
Nope. All right, here we go.
Look, I'm not going to say nothing if you don't say nothing to try to cause a commotion. Because he's
Yeah, so I'm not going to say nothing if you don't try to say nothing and cause a commotion, lady. You're going to come all up in here getting in my business while I'm abusing my partner. Don't try to start a commotion with me, lady. Okay, whoever this crazy woman is on this airplane, she is the commotion. Okay, not the partner sitting beside her who's being abused, not this very kind and gracious air flight attendant. She's not causing the commotion. The little kid behind her who's terrified, that child is not causing a commotion. And frankly, if one of these two men were to turn around and tell her to shut the hell up, I don't even say that they would be the one causing a commotion. And actually, they would probably get a standing ovation from all the other passengers. But in true form of any abuser, in her mind, she is going to make everyone else be responsible for her chaos. She is going to hold everyone else responsible for what she is doing, whether it's pain, embarrassment, broken things. She's not going to accept any responsibility, just like Brian. Just like Brian. Okay? And remember, this is all happening because her man might have looked at another woman. Maybe.
The fucking problem. You want to fucking try to fucking say shit to me, nigga? Shut the fuck up. Nigga, fuck you. You want to fucking watch when we get home, nigga?
Just take her off the plane.
Fuck you. I'm not bringing my back to why. If I gotta bring my back, I'm not ever gonna see you again. I swear to God, don't you ever come to my house, nigga. I'll call the police.
Now, she's going, don't ever come to my house. I don't want you around. I don't like you. You're looking at other women, or you might have been looking at other women. And I got news for this lady. Any healthy man between a certain age group, they are looking at other women. It's biological, okay? And you're stupid if you think any different. It doesn't mean they have to touch. It doesn't mean that they have to want that other female. But the brain is wired a certain way, and you can't do anything about it. It's what it is. So I don't even think that this woman really even had a problem with, oh, I saw you look at that pretty woman. I don't think it was that. I think she's an abuser. I think that she enjoys the power and the control. And there's some of you in the chat that are going, oh, no, she is not enjoying this. She is very upset. And really, she just wants to be away from him. He is making her so unhappy and so uncomfortable. She is going to welcome the chance to get away from him. You can hear her. She's saying, boy, when we get home, you are never allowed back in my house. I don't want to ever see you again. We are finished. I hate your guts because you were looking at that pretty woman, right? She doesn't want him, does she? She doesn't like what's happening. She's uncomfortable. That's what she would tell you. But is that true?
Oh, you? Fuck you. Oh, really?
You're going out of control.
I'll put this right now. You shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
Okay. Sarah, you're gonna come up with us.
No.
Okay, now then, she hit him, right? And everybody reacted. Everybody said, whoa, okay, lady. Now you're crossing the line, okay? Now, the line got crossed a long ways back. But in the physical aspect, people were just like, oh no, here we go. Immediately, the stewardesses respond properly. They really should have tried to separate them before it came to blows. But people don't want to interfere in intimate relationships, right? But they should have, okay? So immediately she's like, come with us. We're going to move you to the front of the plane. Talking about the partner, the man, the guy, the one that got hit, okay? They're going to take him, put him up in first class, and get some space between them. Now, remember, you guys are all worried about this poor lady who's just had her heart broken because her man is looking at another woman's booty, right? She just needs some relief. She just needs to get away from that bastard. So she's told him, we're finished. You're done. Don't ever come to my house again. So when they say, come on, sir, we're going to move you up here, get you away from her, get you guys some space. This poor traumatized woman is going to say, oh, thank God, take him. Get that. Don't let the door hit you on the way out, Buster. Right? She's going to be glad that he's leaving, right? She's going to be glad that he's going to the front of the plane, and she's going to have more room anyway. So good riddance. And then she's probably going to tell everybody, I'm so sorry. I got upset. I didn't mean to upset all of you guys. I'm so sorry. Is that what y'all think's going to happen? No, you would be wrong.
Oh, you gonna come up?
Yeah, man, I'm getting up, man. Get up. You're assaulting me, man.
Oh, I'm assaulting you.
Bam! Okay, so now he gets up, he steps over her, he gets to the center aisle, and he says, oh, great, now you're going to assault me. Sir, you were being assaulted a long ways back, okay? Assault isn't just hitting, okay? So, I don't know, is she putting in a final blow before he gets to go to safety? I mean, what about him getting up, being taken to the front, to separate them? Why did that fuel her to begin to hit? After all, she just wants some peace, right? He's the problem, right? Get him away from her, give her some room, and she'll be able to calm down, right?
I know you for fucking years. I'm assaulting you.
Oh, so as she's screaming, oh yeah, I'm assaulting you. What? You know what that is that she's hitting him with? It's a laptop computer. She's beating him down the aisle with a laptop computer as she's questioning him. Oh, really? You think I'm assaulting you? I ain't assaulting you. Are you crazy? It's ridiculous. However, let's stop a minute and think about this. Why, if he was the problem and what she needed was to just simply, get some space, right? Wouldn't she be glad that he was leaving and she could grieve or, plan on burning his clothes or whatever was going to happen? No, she was actually infuriated when they got him to move him to a new location. And she wasn't having any part of it. In fact, she was going with him. Why? Let me read the definition to the United Nations definition of domestic assault or intimate partner violence again. It is defined as a pattern of behavior in any relationship, including the relationship between this crazy woman and all of the other passengers on the plane. Those were relationships that she was more than happy to use as weapons against this man that might have looked at another woman. It is used to gain or maintain power and control over an intimate partner. If they move him away from her, then isn't she going to lose her control? You see, this didn't have anything to do with him looking at another woman and her getting upset and hurting her feelings. She was in control and she likes it. She was enjoying shaming him in an airplane full of people that were captive audience. She was feeling powerful. She was feeling tough because nobody was going to fight back. She was loving what she was doing. So when this started at the beginning, and she's screaming, and there's a child involved, and she's cussing, and she's telling the stewardess, don't you cause a commotion, right there, if me or a psychiatrist or a domestic violence professional, any people with the additional training, right there at that point, when she said to that stewardess, everything will be fine if you don't cause a commotion. Right there should have been time for the pilot to be alerted that there was a dangerous situation in the plane and either get these people off or land the plane. I don't have any idea if this plane's in the air or not. I don't know. you don't wait for the fist to start flying, right? And so this is dramatically different than the situation for Gabby and Brian, but the parallels, if you were training a law enforcement group, you could demonstrate the two so that they could understand and see why we can define the use of manipulating other people to be weaponized against the domestic violence victim, that is dramatically increasing the likelihood that there will end up being violence during the encounter. Okay. What I want to do one more time, this is such a short, tiny little clip. I'm going to play it from the very beginning now that I've kind of gone through this, going from the most basic knowledge, concrete knowledge level up to that highest level of compare, contrast, analysis, and synthesis of the problem. Now you're going to have it with a different type of, a different eyes, right? A different level of comprehension for what actually is domestic abuse. And does it have to be a fist? Do you have to get punched in the face, Taliban Tom? And that answer is no.
Shut the fuck up. Yeah, you better believe it. I wear the fucking nuts, nigga, in front of public. You want to fucking try to look at other women, nigga? No, fuck you. You ain't gonna look at other women, and you ain't gonna tell me you looking at other women.
We have a little child right behind you.
Yeah, I know. I fucking consult the fucking child.
There's a little boy right behind you.
I already know. Look, I'm not gonna say nothing if you don't say nothing to try to cause a commotion, because he's a fucking problem. You wanna fucking try to fucking say shit to me, nigga? So shut the fuck up. Nigga, fuck you. You wanna fucking watch when we get home, nigga?
Just take her off the plane.
Fuck you. I'm not bringing my bag to why? If I let him in my bag, I'm not ever gonna see you again. I swear to God, don't you ever come to my house, nigga. I'll call the police on you. Fuck you. Oh, really?
You're going out of control.
Nigga, I'll put this right now. You shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
Okay. All right, Sarah, you're gonna come up with us.
No. Oh, you gonna come up?
Yeah, man, I'm clean up, man. Get off. You're assaulting me, man.
Oh, I'm assaulting you?
Yeah,
I know you for fucking
I
years.
didn't know you like
I'm
that, man.
assaulting you? I'm gonna get my purse.
She can't let him get out of that plane without her. She has to continue this. And if they don't separate them, one of them is going to get hurt. I kind of think this could end up being one of those situations where he finally has enough and it ends up being her in an emergency room.
Are you okay?
Fuck you. You want to say I'm assaulting you? Fuck you.
Oh, shit.
Fuck you, Memo.
Ma'am,
Yeah, I'm coming. I'm going over there.
you're going to be charged with assault.
Fine, whatever. Oh, yeah, Memo?
Crazy woman. Crazy woman. Oh, okay, now then. So, yeah, crazy. All right, so that being said, I think I'm going to leave it here for that part of the video. So I wanted to kind of give you a view that, you know, the officer kept saying, you know, did he hit you? Did he slap you? Did he hit you? Did he slap you? She said he grabbed me, he scratched me. She's got bruises, old bruises, new bruises on her arms, you know, everything. And Taliban Tom just couldn't get there, right? It was like, for some reason, he was emotionally invested in the idea that she was the abuser, the perpetrator. Really strange. And I think that we people all, if you are front line or last line, then people have to be very comfortable with being able to look at a circumstance and watch how it's developing and say, hey, you know, these are in fact factors that are, in terms of the research, they are associated with a dramatic increase of the likelihood of violence occurring. What happened on that airplane before that woman ever hit, before she ever slapped, they could have filed charges of domestic abuse right there. Okay. All right. We have to remember that. We have to do better to try to keep people safe. What are some of the warning signs? Well, a big part of the definition from the United Nations related to domestic assault has to do with this issue of control, right? That for the United Nations, control is the biggest part of it. Here in the United States, the research groups coming out of University of Washington, Stony Brook in New York, University of Pennsylvania, those are the big groups that are really doing a lot of work in domestic violence, and their definitions, they all focus on this idea that domestic assault is not about the violence; it's about the control, right? That's why this clip is so perfect, is because it demonstrates a lot of these high points that we see in the literature, but it shows that she's given this impression that he's the problem, he's causing all this upset, and that all she needs is some time away from him, and then she can calm down and feel better. And when the stewardess does exactly the proper thing to separate them, she goes after him. There ain't no way he's going to be allowed to get away from her and her influence, because it's not about the violence, it's about the control. She was really enjoying the power. She was really enjoying her sense of control, making such a scene. No one in the airplane stood up and told her to go to hell. Nobody. She liked that. She liked the fact that he was controlling himself, probably out of fear of being arrested for being an abuser if he had responded. And so she was really loving it. She was enjoying the setting, that she was the one that was in control and tough and, all that. And when the stewardess tried to separate them, she's having no part of that. She's absolutely not. He's my victim. I can beat him. I can embarrass him and humiliate him if I want to. All right. So what is controlling behavior? If this whole domestic abuse thing is not really about the violence, but it actually is driven by that sense of control and power, then naturally the abuser is typically someone who is quite weak in ego, in spirit. They're usually someone who feels ineffective. Maybe someone who's been fired from their job, or they have an alcohol or drug problem, or they're a womanizer, and so they feel really shitty about who they are because they're lying all the time to their family and screwing around, and all that. But something makes them feel weak and out of control, ineffective, and so they kind of overcompensate for it. And once they figure out what they can do to gain control over another person, then it begins to feel good, and you could see that on that clip. Usually when someone is in a weakened state and they've learned how to control others through anger or insanity, craziness, right? Remember with Barry Morphew, remember, I'm going to kill myself if you do this. That was a control tactic. He was exerting control. He was exerting pressure on Suzanne not to make a healthy move and get out of the marriage, but to stay there even though she was in misery. And he was using this, if you do this, I'm going to die and it's going to be on your hands. And I know you and you can't live with that, right? So one thing is possession, feeling like the person that the victim is your possession, feeling super jealous. Jealousy is a big part of it. He didn't even actually do anything. She just said, oh, you were looking at women. Well, he probably was. He was a man, probably under the age of 40. It's in his DNA to look. Okay, you don't have to act on it, but, they do look. There are other ways that you can control. We saw an excellent example of like shame and humiliation and fear being used as control tactics. But you can also control physically by limiting money, not giving the person a car that they could drive. Limiting relationships is a very big part of control. In fact, I'm always, one of the biggest red flags that I see in a new relationship, new marriage or whatever, is if suddenly uh, that person who was previously really involved with a lot of friends and family, suddenly they're not seeing those friends and family anymore. Suddenly there's a lot of fights with the family members. They get more alienated. You always should stop and say, wait a minute, why is this happening? This is dangerous. People should maintain relationships even if they get married or move to a new state or whatever. They should maintain contact relationships because it keeps us safe, keeps people safe to maintain. And it keeps life normal. If someone begins to manipulate you and you're talking to your mom and dad a couple times a week, it gets harder and harder to hide the fact that you're with an abusive person who's brainwashing you. So you have to be careful of that. Some of the physical signs of abuse we've already talked about. One of the big ones is a telltale sign of bruises on the upper part of the arm. That's direct evidence that that person is being controlled. Obviously, black eyes, bruises in unusual places. And here's one you don't see very much, but the emergency room physicians and nurses know. And that is seeing people with bruising, but multiple bruises at different stages of healing. That is something that really doesn't get talked about much in the literature, but it's a huge, huge red flag for professionals. So somebody comes in, they've got a bright red, bruise, and it looks fresh, it looks really bad, but then right underneath it, you can see kind of an old yellowy, greenish color bruise, which is an old bruise. It's dried old blood, and most of the blood has been absorbed back into the system. So when you see these new bruises that are, layered in with these bruises that are medium healing to old bruises, huge red flag, huge red flag. Unless the person's like a boxer, right? Something like that. In fact, Taliban Tom says in the video with Gabby, what about that one? That one looks like a new one. He had all of the signs were there with Gabby. All of the signs were there. They just didn't know. This police department did not have the training that would have, had they had the training, they would have recognized this is a couple that needs some outside influence before somebody gets badly hurt. Also, a huge, huge sign that you must act on it is bruising around the neck, right? FBI has already come out with a white paper and said people that like to choke, they're probably going to end up killing somebody one day. So if somebody chokes once, twice, 3 times in anger or frustration, it's a no-go on the relationship, in my opinion. Anybody that ever gets so angry with you or so frustrated that they put their hands around your throat and bruise you, that is the end of the relationship, in my opinion. Anybody that stays in that circumstance is, going to end up like Alexis Sharkey, in my opinion. There are also emotional signs of abuse or symptoms, if you want to use that word. Well, what's at the top of the list? People that are victims of abuse, whether it's physical, they're getting punched in the head, or whether it's manipulation and gaslighting. Maybe it's a partner who is constantly engaging in infidelity. And so you're experiencing very real emotional distress. That's abuse. Okay, that's controlling behavior. What's at the top of the list in all types of relationship abuse, emotional signs, very top, anxiety. It's at the very top. It's the person that his hands are like this, crying, but not deep, horrible sobs of emotional pain, but crying where it's almost like it's like a check valve, right? Where the energy, the level of distress, fight or flight that's internal reaches such a level that has to come out one way or the other. And it comes out in this weird, crying, like opening up the tap water, and the voice gets really tight and kind of shaky. They can't catch their breath. They keep taking these deep breaths, but it's just not giving them that sigh, that sense of relief. That is one of the top signs that there is abuse that's happening in the relationship. Changes in patterns of sleep is a huge sign. It's a huge clinical sign. There is no way of predicting whether it's going to be somebody that's sleeping 10, 11, 12, 13 hours a day, or someone who hasn't slept in 2 days. It can be expressed as no sleep at all, or it can be expressed as the only thing this person will do is sleep. Okay, so both of those conditions stand clinically as a sign that this person's limbic system is in complete meltdown. They are in distress, and something is obviously happening to create a metabolic change in their body that is either prompting them to sleep abnormally long hours, or it's interfering and they cannot sleep at all. Number 3, this is clinic. This is textbook, not making it up. Being overly apologetic. That's actually a sign that we assess for. Being overly apologetic, having irrational sense of guilt, feeling like there's some doom, like the shoe is about to fall, that there's an impending sense of doom, that something horrible might happen, but then they don't know what it would be. There's really no idea what could be. These are all messaging that is coming from a disruption in the neurotransmitters. It has nothing to do with life circumstances. The overwhelming sense of guilt, it's just because the serotonin is too low. That's all. It's weird, but it's real. Okay. And so you run into somebody who's overly apologetic, always making excuses. Anything that goes wrong, they take responsibility for it. You're looking at someone who's being exposed to hypercritical messaging, and they have internalized that messaging. Also, lethargy, becoming lethargic, withdrawing from pleasurable activities, things that they previously enjoyed, they no longer have any interest. Usually they withdraw into sleeping, or just watching the TV, just almost like getting focused on television, unable to take their eyes off of it. This is a person that is numbing their brain. They're trying to calm all of these physical sensations that are really uncomfortable because the neurotransmitters are, completely out of whack. Obviously, trying to self-medicate by drinking a lot or using drugs. Abusing drugs. Also, traditional symptoms of depression, obviously, would be a big part of it. And then talks of suicide, attempts at suicide. And when you talk to these people that are in this condition, the topic of suicide, when questioned, it's more about, because I can't fight anymore. I don't know how to get free. To kill myself is freedom. When you begin to hear that, you know that there is violence in the home. No question about it. Obviously, if people are having a clinical depression, if people are feeling like a scapegoat, they're taking responsibility for everything that goes wrong in the relationship, they're being controlled through fear, anger, shame, physical coercion, monetary coercion. Obviously, if they're experiencing all these things, then they're going to become distant. They're going to they're going to demonstrate a change in behavior that is going to be experienced by the people that love them as, why isn't my child talking to me anymore? Why isn't my brother calling me anymore? Why isn't why did my sister keep canceling our plans to go shopping on Sunday? And most family members will end up getting their feelings hurt and even maybe getting aggressive or angry toward the victim, when really you should stop and go, wait a minute, there could be another explanation. Has my sister always been selfish? Well, no, she's never been selfish. Not till she got married. When she got married, then she thought she was hot poop. Well, probably not. You'd probably be doing your sister a great favor by being gracious and saying, hey, we don't have to go anywhere. Just let me come over and visit with you. I'm just going to show up and go check on your family member. If there's a change in behavior soon after a new marriage, you need to intervene and make sure that they're both safe, both of them. All right. Again, dropping out of activities that they previously really enjoyed, becoming labile. One minute they seem like themselves and normal. The next minute they're very angry. Then they're crying. All of these things really, some of them are fairly telltale signs of developing mood problems, but others of these are indicative of something far more sinister and ominous, like constantly apologizing, having bruises on your neck or bruises on your upper arm. All of these things are very controlling. And if you find out that somebody is being limited money, that they're not being allowed any kind of money, huge red flag that somebody's being controlled. All right. Okay. It's so much information tonight. I know it was a lot, right? And I don't know if y'all could tell, but I was talking really fast, trying to get through it all. So, thank you guys for being here. Like I said, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And so once a week through the month of October, I'm going to do one of these talks. And I think what we'll do to end this video, I think I'll re-show our crazy woman on an airplane. Here's the deal. You heard him say you're going to be charged with assault, right? She could have been charged with domestic abuse before the first blow. Remember, the definition of domestic violence or intimate partner violence by the United Nations is a defined pattern of behavior in any relationship used to gain or maintain power and exert control and influence over an intimate partner. In this particular example, this woman used every person on that airplane and their discomfort with her anger and her yelling and carrying on. She weaponized every passenger by exposing him to shame and humiliation. And she ensured that no one would interfere with her using them as weapons by telling the stewardess, if you don't start asking questions, if you don't try to cause a commotion, then everything is going to be fine here. Meaning, just, you're a part of this, do what I say. They did not have to wait for blows to happen. They could have completely backed off, called in the police, and the police would have put her in her place. That was domestic assault before even the first blow. Okay? Control. Domestic abuse is about control. All right. You guys, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it more than you know. And I'll be back. All right. Good night. Y'all have a great Saturday night.